Hi everyone, welcome back into the studio. We're going to continue on some of the studies. And remember, I promised you a couple months ago, we painted that one right back there. And I said it was going to be, we were going to do a larger bit of it, a larger study of it. And I have, and I went really large, okay? So let me take a look at what you did. And I went ahead this morning and I put on my painted sketch of it. Those of you that are members of, this the subscription here for the channel, I'll put a photo of this on with which you can turn into a pattern really easy. And if you need it, blown up into a PDF where you can print it off and stuff, I'll have that for you. But let me explain. So this is a stretch canvas. I made this stretch canvas. I used a 12-ounce canvas and cotton canvas, stretched it, put on 2 coats of the canvas prep medium, sanded it lightly with 180 grit, and it's all ready to go. So I don't have a whole bunch of rough, but this type of scene and stuff, you can go ahead and do a rough on it as well. And then what I did is I just started my sketch. And so I wanted to do that like we do with the last one. I wanted to do that one, but, I felt like when the painting was done, it needed to be opened up. I wanted to open it up to the left to create this kind of journey into the painting here. And I want to put some horses and stuff down here, smaller little ones here. And I want to call this one the Wranglers. And so I decided to increase the flat area up into the front that you see on that one there. Increase the flat area. I'll still put some nice, interesting rocks right here. Remember in the last Western we did, I did that when it was almost there. And I put those really rocks, and you guys really like those rocks. So I thought, let's do it there with a little bit more of that Southwestern theme onto those rocks. Let's put them up here. But I want to create this kind of pathway that draws you in. And, of course, some of the back mountains back there. And, and so forth. And so what I did was originally, so I took that original sketch from that artist that I showed you that was done back in the turn of the century, 1900s. And then I Photoshopped, laid in a couple of cowboys here and then a pile of rocks to see if I was going to like that journey. So that's what I did there. And then I turned around and I started to sketch those cowboys in. And I just go out and I find photos of cowboys. Now, after I started sketching this one, I found this guy. I like his turned a little bit better, so I do like the horse's face turned this way a little bit because I'm going to put some cows right out there. And I have this guy sketched for this one back there. So, you can go out and find these kinds of photos. They're everywhere out there. And I'm only going to use them. I'm not going to copy them at all. I'm only going to use them for an idea, and how much we, detail and stuff we get into them, we'll get that into the painting. But I start my sketch on, sometimes I'll lay in a little pencil work, and this time I laid in just a little bit of pencil work, but do most of it with the brush. I like to work with the brush, and I like a small flat brush, a small bristle flat here. Now what I did was I took some burnt sienna and a little bit of sapphire blue and a little bit of white, and it just created some various tones of it here so I can get an idea of it. Now I also use, like what you see up into this area and stuff, I also use the white. So, I changed the idea here. I got the horse a little fat, so I started changing that back. And I changed his hand. One of the things I like to, I had this one guy with it reaching out, but I like this guy's reaching back across him a little bit more. And so I went ahead and I changed my sketch and stuff like that. So, but I use white paint to paint back out as I'm doing some of that sketch work, and it works really, really well. Then I just started working back through the mountains back here. I use a big brush and just a little bit of water, and I let the brush really just kind of do some of the the shadow and the light. Now, I'm going to bring light in here from the left, and shadow is going to come back this way here, just like this. So a little bit different than what we've done before and everything, but I want this part of the horses here in shadow, not in light. And so that will create a darker area right up into the front. Now we know from good landscape painting, the sky sets basically the starting point of our painting, right? And then this will set a dark point. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to set the sky, which will set my depth, my furthest point away, the blue, the light blue. Usually I'm going to get it up around an 8 or a 9, like what we did right along the horizon line back there. And then my dark colors, I'll express some dark colors and come in and paint. I want to paint this area. I know where I'm going, and my dark colors then slowly as they come back here will get into, will become lighter and lighter and lighter like the sky. So as objects leave the front, they become more atmospheric and become more like the sky. And so basically what you have when you do something like that is a value scale. So your real darks here, and your value scale, you know, goes back this way. And those of you that don't have these value scales, you can go right over onto our website, the Jansen Art Studio, go to the supplies page, and you'll see the downloads for the value scales. And I think we have the links for everything. In the video description down below here is always the links for everything. For my colors, I'm going to do everything. Now, I mixed up a little bit of sky here just a few moments ago. This is a shortcut color. This is the Sapphire Blue. This is it's a pre-mixed color that we do make. It's made from Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, black, and white. It's just a real good shortcut color. I'm going to be doing a lot with this painting. This is just to get the looks in, and then I'll develop the painting a little bit later on because I'm going to spend some time on this one. So I took some Sapphire Blue. This is the medium beige. Again, another shortcut color. I really love the coloring that I did in that one desert scene, almost there, the last Western. And I'm thinking of taking some of the Southwest colors that we have there and moving them in towards those grayer tones that I used with that one, softening some of those oranges up just a little bit. See what happens, right? And so the rest of my palette is pretty much the same. All these colors, the entire list of all the colors, and I paint with the Jansen Art, the Heritage, our colors, our paints that we manufacture. And all the links for everything is in the video description down there, okay? So what I did was I took some sapphire and some white here, and I mixed it off to the side. I just add a little bit of my extender medium. This is extender medium. This is the open medium, the Matisse Deravan open medium. And I just mixed that up, and the first step that I'm going to do is just to come in here and give it a good, with the big old, this is my old, very old brush. Some of you saw me use this on the last floral painting that I did. I love my big old brush. And I'm going to use, you know, a lot of times you see me kind of wash the skies in, and I'm going to paint this entire painting pretty heavy in paint. I want to, you know, I've been doing a lot of painting, consignment paintings, and trying to up my game just a little. I'm going to add a little extender. Up my game a little bit in some of my paintings, and, you know, get, I'm going to say, a little bit more painterly with them. And so you use a lot of paint when you do that. I have this big clamp there that I'll have to kind of go around. But you can kind of see that color there. Now, and I'm going to, every once in a while, add a little water or add a little extender here to thin this out. I've got to reach way over here. Matter of fact, I'll do it left-handed just to show you what we're going to do, and drip a paint a little bit. But I'll do this first. I'll put this in, whisper this into the sky. And in that first one, you know, of course, the other video is all in there, so you can watch how I did that one. I really like how I do that. And so I set the sky up, and then I'm going to take some more light. Sometimes I'll add a slightly different color. Now, along the skyline, especially out in the desert, you get a little bit of yellow, so that's kind of nice to have in there as well. And so I'm going to lighten this up even more right here, so I can see where lighter and where I am, and a little bit different color in there. And so I'm going to push that right along my my horizon line there, and let that just come up and get atmospheric. And this again is just to give us a place to start here, right? So pretty light. So when you look at this on the scale here, I'm right up here at a 9. Do you see that? And it'll probably dry down to about a 9. So it's pretty light. And it looks a little darker because you're out on white. Does that make sense? So, yeah. And then, like we did with that one, I showed you how we could add a few little clouds and stuff. I'm not going to do that yet. Let me reach way over here, guys. Sorry about that. You get to watch here, and I just want to get some of that color in here so you can see that. And all of this is not gonna stay this way. This is so I can set up my depth. Does that make sense? Now, usually what I'll do is I'll thin that just slightly here with some. I'll use some extender here. You can use water as well, and we're just gonna lightly cast that over those back mountains back there and down. We might even push it a little over that one right there. Just a little bit of that sky color down into our painting. That is the atmosphere. Let me rinse that brush out real quick. That is the atmosphere. Does that make sense? And the atmosphere helps you with your depth for the painting. Now, let's take some of this sky color. Now it'll be, so this is where I am, up around a 9, right? And so I want to take a little bit of my brown, a little bit of my blue, and I want to make just a real distant mountain color. But I want to watch it against my sky. See, that's the difference that I have. And I want this to stay here. We might even go a little bit violet, which is some of the back mountains and stuff do. You know, when you look at them, of course, the sky takes them just a little more violet. So here, but I want to keep it fairly close to the background. That's maybe a little dark, maybe right in here. Let's try this, okay? So this, you can see the difference now, see? And this will dry darker, so we have to be a little careful here because it will dry darker. I want to give this feeling of these hills back here and you know, just a little bit of that color here. Pull your brush. This is a 1-inch brush here, 1-inch older fusion brush. This will be the back hills. Now I'm not putting the shadow in. This is just the base color of it. And I want a little bit of movement. I'm going to paint all of this again. See, this is, because this painting I'm going to put a lot of work into. This is just to give me some idea of depth. So when you film, you have to learn how to paint with both hands, left and right. So you don't have to reach across the camera too far here. Okay, now, so I got an idea of those back hills. Now, well, that's the color I was using there. Let's add a little more brown, a little more blue, just a touch more violet here. And let's model it so like this, so you don't mix it up real well here. And this will go on to the left side, or excuse me, the right side here. Here we'll push some of this down onto the right side. So light's coming from the left into the painting, so we'll give just the indication here. So see, I can create like the shadow of a mountain right there, right through that, right like that, okay, to the left side. And a little more difference to that, a little bit of violet here, and there we go. Let's push in just a little bit more here, just a little, few angles, maybe some up and down verticals in there. And of course I'll do this again here. But I guess I could go over this way a bit so I don't have to reach quite as far. Forgot I do have this big palette, this big easel here. Here we go. And see, I drag it a little bit, okay? And you can lighten that up more towards some of that sky and push some back the other way as well. Keep it very soft, what we call compress the colors together, not too much difference in there because they're way far away, and it's got to become very much like the sky. Does that make sense? So we'll push that in there and push just some real soft differences back and forth there. It sets up mountains way back there. We might put a few other little colors in there, some other stuff. Like if you want to bring forth just a touch of those southwest colors, we'll add a little burnt sienna, a little bit of brown. Let's keep that just slightly thin, maybe just a touch of light. And you can add a little bit of those southwest colors back there, but so that they stay very soft, right? Very, very soft to the colors. Just tap them around in there. See, just add them into your lights and darks. Don't get rid of all your darks here, but just give the impressions of some of those colors here. Like that. You can just pick them up a little bit. It's really a nice way to do that. And your acrylics stay nice and wet. And it just makes real nice, and see distant mountains. And you can bring some of them a little, farther forward, like right up in here. Maybe a bit more of a ridge line or something there. You've seen me do this a lot, right? So yeah, and maybe a bit of that burnt sienna in there. I love the different colors. That's what makes your paintings so pretty, when you get all of these different kind of colors going on in there, especially in some just soft. Their values are very close together, so and we're just giving an idea of the colors, the change of the colors. But they're so compressed, so everything will recede back. And of course, I'll come back and I'll work this again. Now, as we come further forward, let's add some of that sky. Let's grab a little bit more of the southwest colors, just a bit more. Just a bit of that burnt sienna, some of that sky here. And let's bring those a little bit further forward. We'll put the cut little mesas and stuff like that in here in just a minute, but we'll look at these colors coming forward here. Maybe a little more brown, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of the burnt sienna. So add some extender. I like the extender because I can thin it out. You can see it gets thin, real watery kind of feeling to it, but yet in a little bit of the sky color, but yet it's smooth. See how smooth it goes over the surface, and that's what I'm looking for. And I'm just setting up these colors here so they move through. You can wipe back lightly and bring some of the light of the canvas through. I'll do that sometimes here, and it'll add just some of that movement. See, I can wipe back like this. And well, actually, we would wipe to the left, wouldn't we? Because that's the light, right? So you can wipe back there to the left a bit and bring some of that interest back up in there. And of course, this is a bigger painting than I did last time, so I'm going to be able to get a lot of interest in over here. Let's bring this back up here. Right up there. Just scrub some of those colors in here. There we go. Love those paper towel looks. So now you can see we have this real distance here. And I'm going to go ahead and establish just real quick some of the forward hills, the next layer of hills, and then we'll maybe just wash in some gentle color here, and then we'll go to the front. I can already tell right in there that might dry a little darker than what I want, but we'll see. And I'm going to, of course, that sky's real big, so I'm going to do more on that as well. But let's come in here. Let's just add some more. Now, so burnt sienna. Now, we want this to recede, so we go right back up into our sky, right into it, right? A good neutral to help neutralize the burnt sienna, too, is that green. takes away just a bit of that sharpness. See, so here's the burnt sienna, and you can see how very orange it is, and the greens and the blue both take away a bit of that sharpness. But we've got some good Southwest colors here. So let's just drop in this little mesa here, the idea of it here. Boom, if we can drop a little bit of those colors back in here as well. Here, just some ideas of them. Little marks, little things. Here, and here we go. See, it just gives you a bit of that. And you know, the thing is, when you're painting like this, if you go in there and try to do it perfectly, it'll look like you tried to do it perfectly. If you do it fast, like I like to do here, then it looks a lot better. You know, and so there's a certain degree of beauty that's going to come from the speed at which you do it. And, you know, I like to work that quite fast. Let's do a few verticals. Now, in the first one, I talk to you all the time about verticals and horizontals, and I'm always talking about verticals and horizontals. Let's lighten that up a bit here, and we'll look at just pulling through and softening some of that. I'm not painting the individual stuff yet. I'm basically, what I want to do is get the coloring correct, and then I'll come in later on and we'll detail it and work it out and all that kind of stuff. I want to get the coloring, because you know, everything in this painting is going to go off of that coloring, right? So we want to get that coloring correct, the tones correct here, and we can make that soften out there like that. Maybe that falls away. Let's take a little bit of our light colors here and this, and just kind of push, soften that out a bit here. So you can see its depth. And so when you're painting like this, see, it's all that depth. That's what I want. So when you look at this, I want this interest right up in through here, and this is going to flatten out more, you know, the flat of the prairie or something like that, and I'm going to put some horses out over there. So I want to keep it kind of flat right out there. Now, I'm going to go, because I'm just going to wash in some big color here. So let's take some, and this is just to get rid of the white of the canvas. I want some of those Southwest colors. I want to tone it down, so I'll add a little bit of the blues and the lights, and I want a certain degree of lightness with it. Let's just kind of model this all up. See, that's very close to where I want. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can plan your painting. You can say in the back you got to go 9. See, I'm a 9 back there. See, the sky. And then as you come forward here, you can see right in there, I'm right about a 7 where that is. And so I can go darker and darker and darker all the way over here. Does that make sense? So your value scale has got to go like that to make that recede. And right up there along that mountain, I'm right at an 8 or so. So even though you can see all the coloring differences there, they're all about the same value. Does that make sense? So right out into here, into the mid, I can go pretty much a 6. So if I come up here with a 7, I'll know I'll be pretty close. And see, that's right about a 7. It's almost an 8, but it's right about, it's a little, about a 7.25. So it'll dries down about 1, it'll dry to a 6. So I know I'm pretty close, and that's all I want to do is get close. So I'm just going to grab some of this color here and just throw that in. And I'll use some brush marks here that kind of suggest the slope and the, so I want some of this to slope back down this way, right? So I want some of it to slope back down that way, and I want some of it to go across. So some of my slope is going to go this way from that, and then back out here, it's going to go straight across. Now, I'll still put in lots of lights and darks and other colors in there, right? I'll still do a lot of that stuff. And I can have certain areas that go lighter and stuff, but you know, some of the darker areas that you see there, that's what I want. So I can go a little heavier as I get up towards those 6s. We could go a little bit more right out in here, some of this, but I'm going to do prairie grass as well here. Now I don't want big, huge, and I don't want the brush marks, stops and starts. So I just want some of this modeling of this color. That's all I want, because all this is going to change. But I just want to get some of that coloring in there. Does that make sense? That's going to help me see where my depth and stuff is going to be. So we get that up. Now, you know, right up through here, I want this slope to come down. I want these riders to have a pathway to get out of here right down through here. And so I use my brush here and I'll build that slope and that pathway right there for them to go down and out, okay? All right, so let's just toss on. Now this is going to go on kind of light right now, but it's going to end up being darker. We're just getting rid of some of the white. So there's a lot of artists, and I'm one of them too. You'll see that in different times, because I like to show you guys all different kinds of techniques, and you pick out what it is that you like to do. And so there's, I show you all different kinds of techniques. So several times you've seen me paint westerns on a pre-toned canvas, which doesn't have the white. And so I approach that a little bit differently. I don't need to get some of those colors and stuff in. This one I don't have pre-toned, so I'm just going to wash in some of this, very casual, and then we'll come in and we'll paint. So, but it'll give me a good idea here of where I'm going to go with the painting. So I can keep some of this idea here. I'm going to go back here. Let's use this 1-inch brush. And we'll go back into some of our Southwest colors here. Boom. And right up into here. And I know I want to keep this around a 6 or so. So where am I? I'm a little darker than a 6. So let's add just a touch of light here. And I want to just push some of these colors right into these areas here that I know, so I can see, because your eye is going to travel through the darks, right? So I'm going to push some of those in. We'll lighten up a little bit of sky color, lighten it up for this one back here, right? This one gets a little bit lighter here, right? And we'll tap and work some of these little cliffs, mesa cliffs here, just a bit, just to define up a touch, you know, a bit more. I'm going to do a lot of painting here, guys. This is just your first blocking in. It helps the artist kind of see a little bit about where they're going. Now, see, what I'll do is, that's that color there. I darken up a bit more now. Head down to a 5, over a 4, right down in here. And I'll push that right into these here. And this, and that dark makes this climb in front of that one there. So I know what's going to go on here. I'm going to paint these really pretty, all kinds of rocks and stuff like that. I'll do that, but I don't need to worry about it right now, because right now it's just the visual experience. I'm just concentrating on the visual experience of it. Get that a little closer to where I want, and bring some of this. See, as I touch more into this and I don't soften it out with that sky as much, maybe just a little bit, you'll see it advances. It comes farther forward. And that's what I'm looking for here. Just some of those colors. So see the color difference between here and here. There it's more gray. It has more sky in it. And the color is becoming brighter and more burnt sienna as I come forward here. And that's what's giving it its pretty coloring here. And we'll even add a little bit of the darker blue to some of this, because as we come forward, we'll start to get some really dark, dark colors. You know, that's a little too dark, so I can lighten it up even with a little yellow. Just give a little different color. Yeah, that's a pretty tone. A little bit. Careful where you put it. Keep it in those areas that we want to work. Now, see, I'm going to have a lot going on here. You can see back on that one, there's a lot going on there. So I'm going to have some slopes and some rocks and a lot going on here. So I'm just going to model up into here like this. This is nothing too perfect right now. Let's put in a little bit more of an edge so we can see more of a cliff edge. And I have to put the light and dark on those cliff edges as well. So there's a lot of work to do, but it's fun work. It's not really work, it's just fun, right? So we'll put some of that in. And let's just come in here and just wash some of this in. I'm going to thin it out. And I just want to get some of this tone in here. I'll just go right through my cowboy there too. Sketch him once. You can just pull through here. This, and I want this movement. See all this movement? It might drive some of you crazy, but leave that movement, okay? Because that movement gives all kinds of interest to rocks and little pebbles and stuff like that, right? So we're going to need that. Right, and we're going to concentrate on painting this front here today, this whole front with this video. And so, but I have an idea of the look. Does that make sense? That's what I want, the idea of the depth that I'm going to use. This is a little bit of a sharp edge there. I can just blur that off a bit for right now. Just run your finger through it. We don't, anything that recedes, you don't want a real sharp edge. So we just blur that out, and that'll go back just a bit more. And that'll work. Now, up to the front here, I'm going to create right now one of the darkest colors. The painting blue and burnt sienna. I'm going to take a little, and this is my 1-inch brush and a little bit of extender just to cause this to slide. This is going to be the forward cast shadow right here. And I'll have to redraw that horse hoof because I just went right through it. So we'll put this in, right? Boom, and so this, what this does is this sets up the forward darks of your painting and brings the painting farther forward, right? So some of this dark, this beautiful dark, it's such a pretty dark. When I painted those other rocks, I used blue, burnt sienna, a little bit of violet. Beautiful stuff that we use right over here. It's nice and dark. You see in the center darks, and look at how dark that is compared to the rest of our painting here. And so this is the shadow side of the rocks. Remember, when we paint rocks, we have receding sides, we have light struck sides and stuff. This is the shadow side, which will be the right side of any of these rocks here, and that'll work really nice. Let's go back just a little bit more of our lighter color right in here to say this front ground. Add a little bit of light to that. So yeah, so we'll have a cast shadow going into that. This is a little too blended in here to me because it's all really wet, but I'll fix all of that because I want to keep this whole area right in here very modeled, very not too much blending here. So we'll do that. We're just getting some of this color in here, and yeah, that's what I want to do. And I want to get some of those lights and stuff in here too. But these darks, this is the dark of your composition, and this is what's really important. Is those guys right there, that cast shadow. I'll work this several times, but this allows me to see that. See, if I come back here and I start put a lot of that dark back here, I start to destroy the depth here a little bit. So, you know, we're going to go a little darker back there, but maybe not quite that much. Maybe right around in which I just did there, okay? So some of these rocks up here, so we'll go more towards a receding plane now, which I'm going to take this and just add a little bit of this. We're going to do all kinds of mottled colors, okay? So I want a receding plane. I want a little bit more burnt sienna and just a little bit of this lighter blue, right? So I want a color that's going to come. The receding plane is the plane between the shadow plane and the light plane. So here it's on these sides of these rocks here. And what if I go up just a bit here, show you guys a bit more. I love these counterbalanced easels. They're easy to move big paintings around. And I built this one. This one, you see, it's huge. It's big, kind of goes all the way up there. It can hold a 20-foot wide canvas. I built that one all out of oak. It cost me about $600 in material, and I got a big 40-pound counterweight on it. So you can move it all your thing with just one finger, so it's all counterbalanced. It's really, really nice. You can buy them. This is an H-frame counterbalance thing, but I have a big wood shop, and I like to use my wood shop, and so I built these. I built a lot of the easels that you see around, like that easel and stuff like that. I build all the easels. I like them. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to drop some of that rock in there. So I want this big rock kind of escarpment here to, you know, kind of direct the viewer down this, you know, kind of like I did with Almost There. You know, those rocks kind of funneled your eye in towards the water where the rider was going. And so these guys will do kind of the same thing here. We're going to add some rocks right in here. See, I'll start out with all of this modeling like this. See, all that modeling, and then that just adds interest. Get that, because then we'll divide it up into the planes of the rocks here. But we've got all of this working color here. Might have to paint like a buckskin or a lighter horse, maybe a white horse, so he really pops up off of that. But I want this feeling that they can go down here, maybe even a little bit of an edge. And you get an edge by putting a little dark and leaving an edge of a light. So that looks pretty good there, like that. Let's put a little receding plane color here. Divide that one up a bit. Right? So we got these layers of these rocks here, right? And you can use your knife too. You see me use the knife. I'll go back to some light colors here. Get back up to your lights. The oranges, we want to get that southwest, which means we go towards the oranges here a bit. And we'll lighten up. Some yellow, some burnt sienna, some brown. We're going to end up doing some of this with blue because I love those. And that painting that I did of the Almost There, I used a lot of blues and stuff with it. But we're going to set in some of those tones. And remember what I did with that one on those rocks. I love to use the knife and use different amounts and start putting in here. This is basically the shape of those rocks here. And I'll vary their tones a little bit. Let's grab a little bit of this right in here. Drop some of that in. And then I'll add that over here a bit. Maybe a secondary one right there. Maybe a little darker one. So I'm going to try to get all these different colors and stuff like that into these rocks. Long ways to go, but you know, from the very get-go when I paint these rocks, right from the very beginning, I start to paint for color, different color, modeling of color. So here's some bluey grays here. So I'll add that in there right now. And I'll really get the Southwest colors in there in just a bit. But I want to get some of this real thick paint up in here as well. So, you know, I'm thinking all different kinds of things, but I'm watching my colors heading towards the Southwest. Let's get a little bit more Southwest color right out here. Right up against the edge of that one. That'll be pretty, where this is going to be the edge of this face before it drops down. Let's take just a bit of that Southwest one, maybe right up in here. So see, I'm looking across these rocks. I'll divide them all up into different rocks with their light and shadow. Does that make sense later on? So we'll divide them all up. But I want to, this is the first get-go, so I want to get just some colors down here. And yeah, get the white of the canvas covered up here. Here, gonna, yeah, these beautiful kind of grays. Those are so pretty in there as well. There. There. And a little bit more of the burnt sienna right into that one. Here, a little bit of that color. So I'm painting for color more than anything else. But see how this lifts off of that prairie kind of plain that I'm going to paint there. I want that. So a little bit of this gray, kind of using up some of my colors here. And you can smooth, you can just kind of smear it around here a little bit as well. You just want to get rid of some of the white. Carry some of this around, just so you can get the idea. But see if you can move through, distort the edges a bit. We'll come back in and we'll paint them pretty. But this kind of models up your rocks. Does that make sense? Modeling up that whole area there. And then we can come back. Let's get a little bit of even some more brighter yellow, a little Diarylide Yellow into that. And set in some other kind of pretty Southwest colors in there as well. Here. Just before I let that kind of dry up, and we'll do some more after we get some more colors on. We got to get the horses and stuff like that. But you'll get the idea. They're looking out over this, and escarpment is going to drop down. We can put a little receding plane over there if we want. Let's just see what that'll look like. So it slopes just a little bit right here. Boom. Right off of those rocks. So it slopes right there a bit. We can do that. See what that looks like. But I want to keep this like, this is up and elevated a little bit. So we don't want to do too much. We'll push this sloping down here. Right down there like that, right up on that edge, and then it goes down, and they're going to go out. This stops a little quick here, so I can fix that a little later. But what I'm going to do now is come in and kind of block in some of my horses here. Some of my horses. My horses, I'm going to block them in. Let's push a little color. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll go around. These little light spots in your canvas are called holidays. And I learned that from a long time ago, back in the early 80s. Painter on PBS. And Helen Van Wyck. Some of you guys used to always watch her. And get home from school and watch Helen Van Wyck painting. And so she always called those holidays. I always like that. That's where the paint takes a holiday. So we're just going to get rid of some of those. And right up and around here where I'd redrawn that cowboy's arm. So, and what this is going to do, this is going to give me a bit here to work on this horse. I think I will do kind of a light colored horse here. So beautiful gray horse comes from your blue and the medium beige and the blue. And I also like the burnt sienna and the blue, but let's just start. This will be a beautiful color on him here. Let's look at the color first. And we're going to want this lighter and warmer over here as he goes up in towards the sunshine here. So, but this, so that this sunshine will actually be right up, maybe right up in here, because we're painting the back side of him. Does that make sense? So we'll see here, and but the light is coming in from here, so he'll have a nice light right there. See if I can find his ears here again. There. And try not to make too many edges. I don't want hedges yet. I don't want texture or edges too much. You can have it in like those rocks. That won't hurt anything. But I might want to redraw this horse slightly, so I want to be a little bit careful. When I'm working on my subjects, I try to be a little careful with those edges, because I may want to redraw them and stuff, and if I get an edge of paint in there, it's harder to redraw and rework the horse. So I will be a little careful with those edges. Now, give him some wider little knees there. Since I painted out most, head down to the fetlock here, down to his hoof. Just an idea for right now. Not going to get wild and crazy. Back here, we could go a little darker. So as we head into some of those shadows, so you can start some of the shadowing on him. Let's put some of the shadow here. So this side would be basically into shadow, and really darker shadow. So burnt sienna and blue. And I like to take the white horses on a painting like this. I'll take him more blue. Do you know why? Can any guess why? You get some of those bluish into the shadows and stuff. It's a complement to the orange of the Southwest, and that will actually make him stand out more. So we might want to keep that in mind as we develop him here. And of course, you can do a heck of a lot better job than I did of preserving your drawing. But I'll just come back and add it again. Let's put a bit of that shadowy tone in here. See, I'll let a little bit of that blue come out here. Bit of that. I love the big muscle structure here on them. Let's pull some of this down through here where his mane is going to be. And back up underneath here. This all started because I was going to do this back leg, and I'm adding a little extender just to make my color slide a bit. But so all of this, you know, I'll redraw a lot of him, put a lot more details in him. This is my first look, right? And some people are really shocked at how real casual I am on my first looks. And I do. I like those edges to be very, very casual. So we have a back leg here coming into a little deeper shadow. And the tail, there's that one, the Reflections Western that I painted where I showed you I painted my Quasar, my big white horse. So we did different colored horses last time. It's time to go back to a white horse. I like my Quasar. I never thought I would like a white horse, but he was such a great partner of mine for so many years. But let's get a little darker, a little more blue. Blues, burnt siennas. This is just the first, and then I'll change this, the mixture of this dark later on to get more interest. Okay, so it'll come different later on. We'll put that lighter tail down there, right? But we'll get just a little lighter, a little warmer right up here, right up by that saddle. here. Some of this coloring right in here, and then we'll, as it goes down his barrel here, we'll let some of that shadow pick up. This is just your first look. Be fast. I like to paint fast, and because it's my first look at the painting. And so I constantly brush mix and change my colors. It's my first look at it. There we go. And I can see some of it's got to be cooler, but some of it's got to be real warm. So overall, he's feeling a lot of blue, a lot of cool compared to the rest of the painting. So I'll need to warm him up a bit to get him to fit into the painting a bit. And this is what you start to do. So adding a little bit of yellow to that light there. Adding just a bit of that yellow to my highlight there. We'll warm him up a bit more. Here. There we go. And he'll start to become more and more white. Let's lighten him up again. He's down in value here. He's down almost to, he'll dry down to about an 8. So you can see I could go quite a bit lighter, whiter up on some of this. I don't want to get too much texture or too much paint yet, but I'm just going to add some of that. I'm not doing any detail. I'm kind of just painting it in the shape of a horse, but not worried too much yet about putting in his muscle structure or any of that kind of stuff here. Let's warm that shadow a bit. Bit of blue and burnt sienna, the medium beige. So we'll warm up that shadow a bit. So it's not quite so, and see that's going to fit pretty nice in there. Because that medium beige we use everywhere in the painting so far, right? So it's a good color to have down in there. So this'll work. I can get him to work. A little bit more of the coloring, a little more warm color into him, but I can get that to work. And yeah, now, see, I want to paint him like I normally do a Western. This is the blue jeans and all of that kind of stuff. And if you go tossing that in there, with that blue, you're going to create, your eye's going to jump from that blue to that blue there. So I'd have to get some of that. And look at how these colors running just a bit. That's perfect. I'd have to get some of that blue in through the midground as well. So I'm going to keep it kind of a softer, soft grade blue. How's that? So it's a blue, but kind of a grade blue for right now. And then I'll see just how much blue I can get in it later on into some of his clothes and stuff like that. How much I can. So see, I can put in that grade blue like that. And then sneak the blue in kind of like an accent. Does that make sense? And so it doesn't overpower. Does that make sense? So I base basically with the blue, and then, with the gray, and then build some more with just an accent of the blue. So I like that. Let's get some burnt sienna and maybe some green. Burnt sienna and green make a beautiful, kind of a brownish color. I'm just going to add a little bit of extender to this, and we can use that to wash in maybe a little yellow, more yellow and burnt sienna up here to kind of get some of this saddle in here. I'm checking the colors. And again, this is what I do. I don't know exactly how I'm going to paint him, but we'll get all of this in there. So I can take that yellow, burnt sienna, maybe a little bit of medium beige and white here, just a nice, and just use that as a light kind of color in there. Get this girth strap in. We'll do a lot. We'll do a lot into that area. There's a long way to go. So, and my big point here is don't get too wrapped up in all of this detail because we got a long ways to go. So I'm just going to suggest maybe the area of his boots here through the stirrups. There will be a stirrup there. So will just suggest that. And some dark, you know, I love just to blur the lines and get suggestive right now. There'll be a fold at his knee. Blur the lines and get suggestive. I do like how this one guy in the one photo had this kind of beautiful leather vest. I like that. A little bit yellow. Let's blue and green that up a bit. Bit of white. Gray this up a bit. Here. This guy. Yeah, that'll be pretty. Just to give that difference there. And you know, this guy right into here, we can do a solid shirt. I usually like to do that, like any kind of a grayed shirt, solid color. Sometimes I'll do like a light blue shirt, but again, watching your blue. So let's just, right now, we don't know. Let's just keep it kind of light. And all I'm doing is painting for light and dark here. This would be the shadowy side here. And more of a grade. Let's get that a little more grade. A little more darker gray here. And get some of this dark color. That's where this is just, so just be quick with it, guys. You don't, this is an idea and getting rid of the light, blurring some of your edges and stuff, okay? So, you know, just get some of that color in there. And, you know, we might, since this is the shadow side of him, you know, depends on how much light we put through the painting, because we can make it a little bit more of a sunset if you want. And if you're doing that, man, this back is going to go blue, burnt sienna. We might want to put some of that in just to see. That's going to take this very dark here, right up through here, very dark. And, you know, because this is the shadow side of them. So it would be like this guy, right? We're going to, you know, you're going to look at like that. And that's kind of a nice look to have here. So, you know, and if you don't know, if you're painting your own thing and you're watching my videos, you know, just for inspiration of techniques and stuff, and you don't know, go out and find some of the cowboys that you like. And what I usually do is I print them off. I blow them up to about this size. This is about an 8.5 by 11 photo. So you can take an 8.5 by 11 photo, you see, and just drop that cowboy in there and see what he looks like. See, those are pretty nice coloring into that, into him. It's got a lot more violets and stuff, but those colors would be very pretty in there. You know, it gives you a different idea. This one's more yellowy and brown and everything, this cowboy. And so, you know, it's good to look at some of that stuff, at some of the colorings and stuff. Now, blue and red make beautiful dark as well. And again, you know, all of this, I'll end up painting him with all of this. This might go right into a light colored shirt because that's just the way he is right now. You know, I might have that, you know, just that coloring. I'm just looking at the coloring. You know, we'll put in a little bit of the dark hair here. We've got some shaping up to do on his hat and everything. But just some of this dark flowing into these blues and stuff looks really, really good as well. So there you'd have that, and you'd get a lot of contrast with him right on that horse. But see, I'll take some of this color from the dark and I'll put it into the horse as well, into the shadows here, onto the horse as well, onto the shadow side here, and push this down. We'll correct his anatomy and all that kind of stuff there. But that all looks really good, I think. Different, a little warmer of that gray, not quite as much blue. with just a little bit here. And so when I end up with this horse, done with this horse, I would have painted him a dozen different times and all kinds of different colors. You can see now as all of those colors are going in, and I'm watching these colors and the reactions of these colors here. And so that's what's going to make him so pretty, is working all of these colors into him. So work some of those, get some of this other light right here, right up in here, working through that. So I'll work a lot of the detail and stuff in him. But he really kind of sets up and goes through there. That looks pretty good. I think dark cowboys wear dark hats, so we'll... And this is a bigger... I'm painting with a number 10 flat, so it's a little large to do detail work with, but I'm going to want to when I go push some of this on him there. And just rinse that real quick here, and just take for right now, you know, into the face, a little burnt sienna, tiny bit of white, just a neutral flesh color here, and we'll just tap that in for right now. Just let that soften out here. Okay, so but that gives you an idea, and you know, for the horse here. And if you want, my horse, you know, had the white mane and tail, so I'll just give an idea of that's going to come right in there, and a little bit of this down further. But I'll go in specifically like I did in the reflections, the Western with the reflections, the white horse. Watch how I painted that one, a lot of details and stuff like that. Let's do this one. You know, you could do a sorrel, but it might get too much into the background. So, you know, I think maybe a lighter color sorrel, or over towards a buckskin. I want to do like a Guello horse, which is the gray. Maybe I'll do a little combination of all of that here. Let's just see. It's going to be a little bit too much, too close to the background, but we'll put a bit of this in, smooth him out. So we might end up going with more of a sorrel kind of color, with going towards a lighter, a real light, like a, not as dark as a chestnut or something, but maybe a little bit lighter. Let's try. I love the burnt sienna and green. Just a beautiful color. And we'll start out with that into some burnt sienna and light and yellow coming up into them. So if we go this burnt sienna green and then put some of this chestnut burnt sienna in there as well, that'll be a pretty coloring on him. And I could work some other shadows and lights and stuff in there as well. Put a little bit of that into my other horse here. You know me, I like to work back and forth with the colors. So see how that just brings both of them together. Yay! So let's get a burnt sienna and a little bit of green right down in here. That is a light green as I left that. That's a lot of that. I don't know if the mics can pick up my lab sitting there snoring. Yeah, I started taking them on a 2-mile run every day, so they get tired in the afternoon. So now they like to sleep a little bit. So yeah, so this one will, and this one will actually fade in a bit back there, so that's kind of nice. Let's go a little bit darker. Let's go to the blues, away from the greens, into the blues. And I can go into some violets and stuff like that to get some of that coloring here. I just want the horses to really pop. And I'm going to get a little more burnt sienna here. These horses have really got a pop for me. And I'll do a lot of detail work on that. You've seen me do a lot of it in the other videos. So, a lot of detail work on these guys. Yeah, we'll go with a little darker color onto him. That'll pop off. It'll pop off against that white one too. Pick your horse colors. Here we go. Yeah, that will be nice. Get some of that burnt sienna in there. So we'll be able to, spark the color here with some burnt sienna, a little bit of that leg there. Burnt sienna, some blues, some greens. Get a nice, beautiful color, darker horse here. That'll work. Here we go. Yeah, and let's get this dark. Adding just a bit of extender to cause this to slide a bit as I fill in this side. Get his knee in there. So I'll really draw in more detail as I, fix up their fetlocks and stuff like that and their hooves, because we're going to be out on a deserty scene. We'll see their hooves. We're not going to compress them down into some prairie grass or something. And so we'll see them here. There we go. And maybe a darker, almost like a bay, a darker, little green, red, blue. Makes almost a little, if it looks kind of green, get a little bit of that violet in there. And that'll give you your darker tail. We'll put a line of that in here for the mane here. And again, this is just your first look, and you can change all of this really easy. Give her a little bit on her ears there. So I, am very casual. My edges are very loose and easy to change. That's what's important. The edges are easy to change and redraw because I'm not too specific yet. Right? Just enjoy. And so my first go through with which is a lot of what I do now, is I look at the coloring. I'm checking the colors more than anything else. The coloring. Let's get that dark in there. Get that a little darker. Even give her the bay coloring here. The legs. Make her make a bay right here. My two favorite horses I rode for the longest time, a bay and my big white thoroughbred there. That'll be kind of pretty. Those will be nice. There's a lot of work to do in those, but you get kind of the ideas. And I've always enjoyed the process, figuring out the colors. And so I thought I'd show you guys, this is what I'd go through, figuring out the colors. And so now what I'm going to do is just back paint through here and get rid of as many of these little holidays as I can. So I start to see the view of the painting here. And keep the edges soft, right? Keep everything soft. Here. There we go. And some of this back up in here. Get rid of those edges. And right up in here. There we go. just like that, so you can see that. Now, might give him a nice gray, light gray shirt here, coming out from his vest here. That might be kind of nice. And again, see, I'm just doing everything simplistic. You'll see a little bit of his shirt up there. Maybe his vest rides up and you'll see a little bit there. Right? We'll do all of this detailing in here. But it's kind of... And maybe he gets a lighter hat up here as well. White shirt guy can wear a white hat, right? We'll see. And so I look out through this and see I'll pop some areas forward. Like, so some of this movement that's right in here, if I really want to work on the depth of my painting here, I'll take that softer. We can go a little bit of that southwest. So anytime I add the burnt sienna and yellow, I'm heading that southwest color. And let's go just a touch lighter. But that southwest, even a little bit of that diarylide and that burnt sienna, or the orange, just make an orange here. Softer orange color here, and push that right in there. Get rid of a little bit of that brushwork, and you'll see it'll lift that horse forward. See? Pushes that horse forward. So, and this is what I'll do. So I find the colors that I like, and then I'll start softening some edges, getting rid of little holidays, painting back, and working on getting some paint up in here to get the effect that I want to get, and see how that just lifts that little bit there. See how it, get rid of this stuff, this too much of that modeling. And up on that hillside, we'll do some rocks back up there. We'll do all that fun stuff. But this will get it all kind of blocked in here. And you're really pushing, using this like this, you're really pushing this horse forward. And that's what I'm looking for. So I can look at the depth of my painting. How deep is this painting? Here. And we'll go back, and of course we'll paint all of this wonderful stuff. A little bit darker, a little more yellow, a little more of this color here. Come back. Right up here. Just come around, get rid of some of that. Paint up by the guy that starts to advance him. Remember, we did this in the last painting, almost there, going around a bit. A little water or a little extender just to cause the paint to move some, right? Here we go. And that really helps him start to advance. And as you're looking through some of the things that you might try, let's just come back with like some of our southwest colors right through here, in which is our orange, the burnt siennas and yellows. Start some of those right in here. We'll go paint those beautiful rocks. I want to paint, so I have this real soft overall idea of the scene, right? Let's go down just a touch. So I have this real overall soft idea of the scene. I like some of that southwest right in there. And so I really want to, and it's all blocked, and I really want to work right in here first, and then I'll step back into the painting here and work some of those other areas. So as I step out, I'm going to work around adding some of these other tones and looking at broken color. Now, you heard me say so many times in so many of the paintings, working that broken color and working it. Broken color really means, so if I'm over here, I've decided I'm going to do this guy a little bit darker like that other one. So I'm going to be looking through to my burnt siennas and blues and a little bit of greens, some of those violets in there, hitting some of those colors and just breaking up into that area. Maybe going a lighter gray up onto the front side of him here. So, and I might go down, let's see if I can, like this is an 8, or here we go, it's perfect, little 6 here. And so I might go down to this 6, and it's a little bit stiff because I left a little dirty water in it. Now, I've showed you guys this 100 times, but I do it all the time, and it's just a little hand sanitizer. And I'll just take this, and you can see the color come right out of it. Do you see that? It cleans it right away, even though that, and look, it'll clean my hands too. But it cleans it right away because there's, in this particular hand sanitizer, there's 60% isopropyl alcohol, which isopropyl alcohol breaks the binder, the glue on the acrylics. And so you can use it to clean up your brushes and everything else. So it just makes that nice, soft, again, brush. See, it's just really nice. So if your brushes start to get all wonky and you leave paint in them and stuff, don't worry about it. You can just take a little alcohol and clean it up. So I'm going to take a little bit of my blue into some of this and make this real light gray. Blues, burnt siennas, some of the different ones, a little violets, all of these kinds of colors, because I'm going to model everything. I'm going to model this, all these colors together here to when I go to make the front gray. And so I'm going to start, and I'll use the small brush here, and I'll start to just paint up a bit more of his detail here. And so I kind of like this guy. Don't care for the horse too much. I mean, I love the horse. It's a beautiful horse, but it'll be too much, I think, for this painting. Some of you may really like it and do it, so that's fine. I am going to just look at this guy right here with some of that coloring right up there to the front. Just an idea. And you've got to remember, I'm going to do this several times, so I'm going to look at those grays like that, right? And pop through a little bit of light hits. So this is just taking the next step, which is adding lights and darks, shadows and lights. You've broken up a bit of the painting now. Now I'm going to work the shadows and lights and stuff like that. So across his back here, I'm going to go even darker. Violets and burnt siennas, blues. Let's push in a little bit more, even a little bit more right in there. Because I want these guys to, and look at how much he goes forward. Now, between the light and the shadow here, I will go with a mid-tone, a half-tone, and I'll go right in between the two, and I'll use several tones in there when I go to do that. That will eventually become the halftone. So part of it is I'm going to have some blue-gray in there as well. So I did a little bit of violet, then a little bit of the blue-gray here. I break up the coloring, and my brushwork stays broken up as well. And so we'll put that wrinkle right in there for his shirt, for his hand, I mean his arm, that wrinkle that comes through. We'll leave some of those nice wrinkles there, nice darks. Some of this right across the top of his shoulders and down. And, you know, I'll pick up some of that blue, stroke some of that blue across there. And so that's what I'm looking for, this broken edging of color and stuff that comes in. And I'll do this several times in several ways and, you know, break it up. Now I want this light, maybe a little bit of light hitting to the front because that's where the light hit is on him. So this is my first look this way on him. Does that make sense? I'm going to do him again and again But this is my first look at getting some interest to him. And I do like a bit of that, you see, like a bit of that light yellow, kind of a chap, like he's wearing chaps or something, like hit right in here. And that could come from a saddle or something too. We have enough room to put a saddle horn in there. So we can do that as well. But I do like some of that, and that real dark coming down. Burnt siennas and those blues here. And down on this side of his pants here. Right? So he's going to stay very, very dark. And colors. And when I'm painting this, oops, that's a little too violet. I like it, but it's a little too violet. A little bit of blue, burnt sienna, gray that up a bit more. We don't want to get not too much texture yet. Only after we establish quite a bit of the coloring that we want to use do we let some of the texture come back in. So we're still saying a little bit soft here. Okay, so there's a little bit of blue, doesn't take much. See, a little bit of the blue will suggest that those are blue pants. Does that make sense? Because he's sitting in shadow. And yeah, so we'll keep this nice dark. And I paint, a lot of people, I've got a lot of questions too. I don't use black. No, I don't use black. I do use black with the Paint It Simply program. So you go over to the Paint It Simply channel and you watch some of those videos that are over there. On that one, I use black, and I use black as part of the initial set. I don't use black here because I follow a lot of the impressionists of the 20th century and a lot of their philosophies. And so when I started studying to loosen up my paintings and I started studying Impressionism, they don't use black. Now there's some great artists that do, but a lot of the ones that I study don't. So, except for Sargent, and it's a personal choice. I got used to not using it, and there's not a lot of artists that I know today that work along Impressionism that use it. But it is, you can. So, but that's just an individual. So. Yeah, this guy is gonna take a little bit of work to get some of those colors down and stuff. But I like that dark up against the light on him, and I'll take some of this dark, a little bit more burnt sienna here. Work this side of his saddle here, a little bit, right there. And see, so I'd break that up. I'd create a halftone, maybe a little burnt sienna and yellow. Here, off to the side, halfway between that light and dark, and I'll break some of that, maybe come back, and see, this is the way I like to paint. Restate a bit more of the shadow. Try not to, then maybe a mark of almost pure burnt sienna in there to create a color contrast, right? And, yeah, try not to... just keep using the same color over and over again. Let's put a little bit of the shadow line here underneath that saddle. Round that saddle up a bit more. But that'll pop that off. Let's go with a little more tan, a little more medium beige, and some light here. And use a bit of it here. See, just tap that along. A little less detail there. But see, it starts adding some of that modeling of those colors that go in there, and that's what I like here. Let's shape up some of that blue and light. Let's get it. You see, it's not even perfect to what I've used before. We'll blur that edge slightly, get a little bit of that warmth on this horse. That's a pretty color. It has a little bit of yellow in it. Keeps that warmer. here. Right up against that edge there. Pretty colors. And that's what I'm going to do with these guys a lot. Right? We're going to break it up a lot. Here. Here we go. And break up some of that. Then we'll go a little bit lighter, warmer here, maybe just a touch. See, I'll do this. Touch into some of that gray. These are all colors that I just used on the cowboy and stuff as well. And why I'm adding all that? Because it's creating a harmony between the two and so I build a little bit more color and a little bit more color and, you know, paint over some of it, but, you know, that's where you start to see that quick marks. That's where you start to get all of this beautiful interest. And you can't have a fear. So see, I hit that, and I put that in the side and went, "Ooh, that's really nice." It's happy accidents, right? Yeah. And so I'll put a little bit of that in. Let's cool this off right up here, and add just a little bit of the cool in there as well. And so, and you can see how this horse is coming. Of course, I've got to, you know, really get his, you know, him all shaped up and stuff, but that'll come. We'll do that. We'll get all that. Get a bit of this mane and stuff here. And some of the shadow in there. This work some of those. Carrying the color, though, is most important right now. Grading some of these different tones. Bluish, yellowish, warm color grays. Right? Creating some of those tones is the most important. They have, you know, this big hip here. And that usually picks up quite a bit of light here. And so we'll build that up. See, I'll slide over to the worms and I'll start building that up. Now I'm using a lot of paint, but I'm not building a textured edge. I don't want to build a textured edge there. See? Stay away from that. Yeah. So you can see this painting. So we're what? Just not quite an hour and a half into this painting, and you can see it's starting to take some shape, right? Isn't that fun? And, you know, when I first started painting, getting this much shape into them would take half a day, but as I paint more and more and more, I'm getting more brave with my colors, with my coloring, attacking some of this stuff. Let's go with this neutralized gray and reestablish our shadow plane here. Right up over that. We got that big hip there. Right into some of that other coloring there. Yeah. And, you know, the light horse will really take on some real deep shadows. It really can. So we can really get that grade down here on some of this. There. And of course I'll put all kinds of, so that one's a very, very blue grade color, but you see I'll push some light color warm in there as well. And that's what makes it pretty. When you go back and forth and you're building and building and building all these colors, that's what makes it pretty. Here we go. Let's get this right up here. Get that knee in there. Here. That leg is a little bit thick. Just a little thick. So, and this is the time to change it before you get anything done. So a little bit of our lighter color background here. Thin that out a bit. There, that's better. Yeah, and see, so I love this dark, and I want to see some of that real dark burnt sienna, touch of blue, right down up into the front up here as well. Just, boom, make that knee down to a fetlock right there. Yep. And restate some of that dark right in there. And then I would have to, broken color in here so you can put some blues, and so you get this beautiful light shadow, which I want to get some light and shadow moving through my painting more. Then I can come back here and add more. I'm still nowhere near done, but I'm refining it now and giving myself a little more of an idea of what I want to do with this painting. And see, we're only, like I say, an hour and a half into the painting, and so I'm going through and just answering a few questions about what I want to do with this painting. And I love painting with like this 6 on this because it's a small brush here, and it's almost like I go around and sketch, you know. Let's get some of this right up in there. It's a little dark, so I'll create a little halftone. That's better. And create right along that edge, that little halftone. Let's put in his nostril over here. That eye. Right? And you can do a little bit of refinement here. There's that shadow from that eye socket right there. Let's build touch warmer gray, blue, burnt, and so I change over. So some of your beige and blue and white here, different color, build up that cheekbone there a bit. Again, and you see before I had some of that yellow, burnt sienna, I touched in there, so I don't want to lose all of that. It's just fun, and back and forth like this. Now, some of you won't like to paint back and forth. You want to get in there and get it done. Well, this is what you do. You see, all those little touches are adding all that interest of color, and it doesn't take very long, you know. And it doesn't take very, you look at it, you know, all I'm painting in here in this short amount of time today, and all that I'm getting done, all that coloring I'm getting done. And I'm working through as I'm watching this, see? I'm watching everything that I'm doing here and saying, okay, that's not going to work. I can change that. But I'm also going to try all different kinds of things along the way. Does that make sense? And see, and, you know, part of this, you know, I mean, I haven't done a tremendous amount of Westerns, you know, maybe 30 Westerns total. You know, and so I'm learning them. I'm learning the techniques as well still. I'm going to grab you guys and take you along with me as I learn some of this stuff. But I'm learning different things, you know. And it's a lot of fun. And I apply this now to all of my other paintings. And it's really changing the way I approach painting. So now I'll build that one up a bit. And here, there we go. Answering a little bit more, building these guys up. A little bit more. Here, get some of that. That burnt sienna is such a pretty color to use in the transition between the shadow and light. It warms. It's a dark, but it warms. And it's just such a pretty color to use in that transition. We'll use a little burnt sienna and some yellow. We'll warm this up a bit. And then we'll go into that light one there. That light, maybe a bit of brown in it so it doesn't go quite as chestnutty color here. A little bit of that brown into that. Get that big hip here. There we go. Building that up. Yep. But it's amazing, you know, these things that I do as I'm learning these Westerns. And hopefully some of you that follow, I know the Westerns aren't as popular as the others. But, boy, guys, they teach us so much, you know. And I know so many of you get frustrated. You want to paint some of the other stuff in the landscapes. Well, this is a beautiful landscape. But let me tell you, this Western, adding these two guys in here and making him go into that landscape is going to be key. And so it's basically learning how to incorporate some of this stuff. And that's what it's all about. You know, the coloring, the techniques, learning to do that. That's what it's all about. You know, and so I know I harp on you guys all the time, you know, that paint here with me on the channel. Get out there and paint the different genres. You know, they change you. They work. These painting the different genres work. It gives you a different visualization of doing something. So here I'm thinking the roundness and stuff, and of course back over here I want to make, and I'm not really there yet, but I want to make lost edges and do all that kind of stuff. And look at that, and that horse's rump can round just a bit more here. So I can move that tail over just a touch more here, up this way. A little bit too blue. No horse has a blue tail, Dave. That's better. There, just give that idea of that. And, yeah, a little bit of that shadow here. Get that, restate that. So we were going to do her as kind of a bay. That leg's a little thick right there. So we'll have to thin that out. But so, yeah, so kind of went kind of quick here. There we go. That thins that out. Let's thin that one out. Comes into that fetlock there. You could see you could sit there and get all wrapped up with all of that. And I don't want to do that yet. Let's widen this out to a knee, then back down. Want to just keep going and going and going on them, but we have to, it's almost out of the film time for this one. And I'm going to paint this one over a couple of days because I've got a lot of things going on here right now. So I'm going to paint this one over a couple of days. And I'm going to work through here. So we'll continue on through here and the rocks with the next one, setting up this whole front area. And then we'll start walking back through. I imagine this will be 3 or 4 just real quick ones. And I might sneak in another little video of a different kind as we're working on here too. I mean, so that you can, I mean, because I have 2 filming studios now. I have paintings going on in one and paintings going on down here. And I like to go back and forth. And I like to show you guys all different kinds of stuff, which is why now I have 2 studios. So I want to do some Paint It Simply stuff. I'm painting some trays with you in the Paint It Simply one. And I painted one last night, and I want to do another one with you as well. And go back and forth. And it's, you know, a lot might think, well, isn't that hard going back and forth? No, it's really, because it's the same principles and concepts. So I've got to do, I have a lot of up and down here. I got to do a lot of the horizontal movement, you know, this movement back behind here to create that. There's a lot that I have to create, but I'm getting there. So I'll probably come in here and do just exactly like I did here. I'll work on this guy and everything, and you'll see, you know, how I go about doing that, okay? But you've seen it before. I've done that a ton with you before, but I'll do mostly the grays. Some of these colors of the horse, so he'll travel up through there. Rinse my brushes, take him out here. And So I'll do that, and I'll set up a little bit of color in here. Then with the next one, we'll come back, paint some rocks, put a little bit more in here, and maybe start some of the back rocks here, and then we'll walk back into the painting, adding more details and stuff, okay? So we're off. We're off with the Western. Don't forget, those of you that are, thank you very much, those of you that join the subscription part of the channel, that helps support everything. We thank you. I'll put a step photo of this into there, and also the pattern one that's there. And if you have any kinds of problems, just write us, and we'll get you what you need. Okay, we're here to help you. And you know, so, and if there's something else you want to see, just let us know. With that, don't forget to click like, and don't forget to add a comment or two, guys. Some of you on the floral, you did really great, and my wife was just typing away yesterday, answering comments and stuff. A lot of fun on that floral. You did really great. Got a lot of comments there, and it shoves up the floral. You know, the more comments, the more interaction on YouTube, and you really help us out, and we appreciate that. Okay, thanks so much. So I'll continue on with the next step. We'll come right back in here and work this a little bit more as we get on these. This is the Wranglers, and then we'll get back in here, and I got to fix my drippy, a little drippy paint. That's a new technique. And we'll add some horses and stuff back out there. It'll be kind of cool to take you on this journey, okay? We'll get it. We'll keep going with it, okay? And if you don't want to do these guys up here, you can still do this as a beautiful Southwest landscape. Be really good. Put a little car right here. No, don't do that. We'll see you guys on the next one.